All right, you ready?
Hang on. I want to opt.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against the Live Hosted College Show. My name is William Table and Legs, and I'm joined by constant co-host Kevin Smurfing. Kevin, what's up?
What's up?
Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be live on air talking to us about your hot takes in Flesh and Blood, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description. Then join the waiting room channel. Put your hot take in the topics text channel, and if we like your take, we'll pull you on for a mic check and then put you on air. I made an effort to make it to say every word of the paragraph this time instead of
you've been giving up on that a little bit.
I mean, if they want to join, they know where to go, but make that one sound nice. Jarl's out in my heart. He's in my heart. His deck list is out. He's on Talishar, which is the important part because I get to play him. I was playing him. I could tell you the hour that his weapon was coded, even though the art wasn't on it, because I was playing that hour. It was the hour before that. I was refreshing the page to see. I was going into matches against Datadoll to see when the weapon was coded. I've been enjoying the heck out of Jarl. Giving some people some free wins with a bad deck I brewed. But speaking of bad Jarl decks, have you seen the Jarl Precon and the contents within?
The deck list? Yeah.
The deck list, yeah. How much is the Jarl deck going for? Like, how much is it to be sold for?
I think MSRP is 60.
MSRP is 60? Yeah, it's a little higher because there's more Majestics in it than normal. Is it worth $60? What's in it?
So it's got
surprising, right?
His arm equipment, which is going to be his mainstay for sure. His arm equipment is crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to have both of his specs, the block card and the put a -1 counter aura that gives dominate the next turn. And then it's going to have Channel Mount Eisen and Frozen to Death, which I believe are also essentially Jarl specs, because it's create Frostbite in an exposed. They're both like looking for Frostbites in exposed equipment zones, and currently he's the only one who makes it outside of the card Frozen to Death.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's very close to having just like 5 Jarl specs.
Yeah.
In play sets. So if it's selling for 60, it's going to be because those cards are worth $60 between them. Like it is. There is nothing else of value in this deck.
All right, you check on your microphone real quick because you're making a static sound when you talk. It's like a shh in the background. While I
is it just is it my computer fan?
It's done. Oh yeah, it is your computer fan. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hang on a sec.
You're good. You're good. So I'll talk about it for a second. So some interesting things in here that they've basically announced by listing the deck list, because we knew about all the Majestics, we knew about all the equipment as of recently when it was announced on, I think it was Polygon. But we've seen some basically commons have been added, right? So like Earthform Red is in the deck, Icy Encounter Red, which I think Icy Encounter Red is funny because Icy Encounter Red is just Jarl's weapon if the opponent is missing a piece of equipment. Buckling Blow Red, I'm not including that card, but that card's good. I can't hear you. Snow Under Red, that's a draft common that I got a lot of mileage with. I still can't hear you. Amulet of Ice Blue, which is super cool, because I have promos of that. You are gone, my guy. Autumn's Touch, that's great. That definitely needed to be included. Emerging Avalanche Blue, and they played it out. I think it was like turn 2 in the there you are. In the game they played. Real quick, they included Polar Blast, which some people think is really good. I'm not personally running it. I can talk about that. I don't like Polar Blast or Cold Snap anymore. Sigil of Earth.
I think you have to be on Tunic for those, but yeah.
Strength of Sequoia, Strong Yield. Kind of neat to see that, but
love that.
it's neat to see them put it in there because I was surprised that they
Yeah.
did, but they're
So like
not the best. Go ahead.
Buckling Blow makes sense. Earthform is fine. They put a bunch of non-attacks in the deck to synergize with it.
I hear it again.
Um, you can hear it?
I can hear
Okay.
it.
Because it's way quieter.
It genuinely sounds like a static. Like it doesn't sound like a. This
Okay.
is crazy. But that time I didn't hear it, so I have no idea. Um, so I'll talk about that real quickly before we get back into the deck. Like I'm gonna aside real quick while he messes with his mic. Polar Blast and Cold Snap, they cost 1, go again, ice cards. When they're played from your arsenal, draw a card, and then have an effect where it's like target opponent pays 1. If they don't, a thing happens. Like your next attack gets dominate, or you freeze their arsenal, or you slap them in the face. And the reason I was playing them, because it would be a sick play where you have just that card in arsenal, and that's it. And it's like mid to late game. You have just that card in arsenal. You
Mhm.
tunic, draw a new card, swing Titan's Fist, and then that's a 1 card play that dealt 4 damage depending on 3 or 4 damage depending on which blue you
You
drew.
you get
And
to hammer out
you
of Arsenal.
you get to hammer out of arsenal. It gave them a frostbite if they have no equipment. It
Yes.
messed with their arsenal if it was cold snap. That was all cool. Then they announced his real weapon. Which the problem with it is it's a bit of a gamble, because if you originally with Titan Fist, if you drew a card and it's the 1 red card you pitched, you can
Yeah.
arsenal it. Now you would have to hold a card in hand because you need 6 resources in order to swing your weapon. So you would hold a card in hand, do the tunic thing to draw a new card out of from the card you played from your arsenal, and then hopefully you drew a blue swing your weapon.
Yeah.
I don't love playing. We also talked about this separately. I guess we can bring this up too. I don't like playing Coronet Peak, which is a reason to spend 1 card if you did. But
Yeah.
even if you drew a red there, then it's like
You're still just cycling a Frostbite, and that's it.
I guess you do that. You held an extra blue in hand, so you pitch that blue into Coronet's Peak, and then you arsenal the red card you drew off of
Sure.
Cold Snap, and that's fine. But I don't think that's what I want to be doing, and I think there's other blues that I could be using. Um, I could see me putting Cold Snap back in. I don't see me putting Polar Blast in like at all.
Sure. You don't super care about. I mean, Dominate's nice, but the
Yeah.
cost curve of it actually doesn't work super well with
You also have a
the
reasonable
rest of
amount
the
of
deck.
dominate in the deck with your arms and with the aura that gives dominate.
That's not
I
a
say a reasonable
ton.
amount. It's like 6.
You have Dominate
Macho
like kind
Grande.
of.
It could win a game if you needed it to. Oakenold. Actually, that's more than I thought it was. It's like 12 if you
Yeah,
absolutely
but
desperately
Oakenold
needed
already
it.
has it. Like I, I don't think you're doing it for the Dominate. I think you're doing it for like card economy.
Yeah, Polar
It's
Blast.
like yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think I think there's enough dominate in the deck to where if you need to dominate, you can get it. You don't need to run Polar Blast for dominate.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay,
there we go.
yeah,
Um
sure.
we're live right here in chat with Jordan Self. Jordan says, I don't think the price is worth it, but I love the idea of introducing full heroes in this fashion. I'm also willing to support that. I'm willing to support that idea at least, and I think I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. I think this is not. It feels weird. It feels out of place for a TCG where it's like the value of these cards is defined by the price of the deck and what people are willing to pay for it.
Hmm.
And it's like because this is just what an LCG does, where you just have a playset. Like the only thing you can buy is a playset of the cards,
Yeah,
and
a
that's it.
living card game. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just what they do. Like I think of like Android Netrunner. The first set
yeah,
was just a box. You buy the box. It has a play set of all the cards.
yeah. I I don't know that I love this just because it feels weird because you're getting literally nothing besides the new cards out of this. I think um, it'll be nifty for new players, just like any other armory deck, except
Yeah.
it's going to be more expensive, which means new players aren't going to pick it up. They're just going to buy the KO one because it's $20 cheaper, which means this is primarily an old player product, which means we're just paying $60 for what is this? 3, 6, 9, 12 new cards, 13 new cards, including the equipment,
Including the piece of
the
equipment we're
arms.
excited about. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually
And
I,
the
I have been running the
weapon
boots.
and the
I like,
hero.
yeah,
So
the weapon and the hero. I've
so
been running the
15
boots, so
cards at
yeah.
least. Um,
$60 for 15 cards. That's not
it's not
awful.
it's not bad. It
No.
just feels weird.
I
Mm,
think it is kind of flexible in that sense. If you're a new player and this is like you're pretty sure this is the kind of playstyle you want to get into, then like picking up one of these isn't so bad. And if you're an older
It's
player that
fine.
wants to play the new thing, then I think it's fine. I think it's
Oh,
like a middle ground.
people who are already entrenched in the game are going to be fine with it because it
Yeah.
is $60 for a third of your deck, including your legendary equipment,
Yeah.
and that's pretty reasonable, especially if your playset of Majestics are like $3 a piece or $10 for the playset, roughly, which is very reasonable for Majestics, and you're getting what
Yeah.
5 of those,
Cuz like
and then you're getting a legendary.
I mean, like for perspective, if this hero came out in like a draft, his arms would probably because his arms are like a must include for his deck, and if
Yeah,
he's any halfway good, they're more than
they s-
$20
they
if he had to pull
start
them out of
minimum
packs.
50, but there's also no cold
Yeah,
foil. Cold foils
true.
would be 100 plus.
Yeah,
Um, and then all the Majestics are going to be $3 to $5 each, which means the playsets are 10 to 15.
I think it's
So
fine.
like this is good for older player for like current players. It's still a little weird for new players because you're getting all the new stuff,
Hmm.
which is going to like kind of drop in value pretty quickly just
Hmm.
because anyone who wants these cards is just going to buy the deck and it's going to be fine. Like I don't see this being like the KO deck where it was Sash is just absolutely insane and heroes besides KO running.
Yeah, that's also true, right? So like
That's the piece that I think
that's
I
yeah.
like.
I don't think
I'm
Oldham's gonna start running these
connecting for
gloves.
myself. Like, well, like there's no reason for anyone else to run the other gloves
Yeah,
because in CC literally no one else can,
true,
and in LL nobody cares about Mangle.
true. I mean, and even there's an argument that the gloves that like -1 to attack reactions
Gauntlet.
gauntlet is better. So
Yeah, you
like
could probably run that. I
yeah.
don't think Jarl will just because
Well, I
they.
mean for like Oldham, like in the sense
Oh yeah,
that this
yeah, yeah.
isn't.
No, Oldham
Yeah,
100% runs those still.
yeah. He's not concerned about this at all. Like
No,
there's not a world where he's like, oh, it's a little bit of upside. I'll just pick up a boreal domain just for the upside. No, you
I
want
mean
the
if
other
you want to pick it
upsides.
up for Temper 2 because it's somehow cheaper than Gauntlets, sure, but I'd be
That's probably
surprised if
true.
it
That's
was.
probably true.
Um,
Um,
I I don't know. It feels a little weird, but I think it's fine. I don't think you will see a lot of new players picking this up over over any of the other armory decks that
mhm.
have come out. And as soon as you get a Guardian armory deck that comes out that's at 40,
People aren't buying this
you're
at all.
not going to see a new player pick this up. This
Like
is them doing an LCG set.
if they come out with a Valda precon,
Yeah,
where
if
it's
there's
like,
a Valda armory deck, if there's a Terra armory deck,
yeah,
and like they don't have a ton of new stuff where it's like an Origins,
hmm
like it's not. It, this feels like an LCG set a little bit
it's I can see why
because of the
you're
price
saying
point.
that. Yeah, I can see why you're saying that. I'm interested because they went out of their way to call this Armory Deck Origins. If this
Yes,
is like a consistent thing, like let's say so far, how many Armory decks are out? Is it four?
or this will
Bolton,
be the fifth.
Bolton KO,
Azalea Dio.
Azalea, Dio. That was the one I was forgetting. Yeah. So if every fifth one was an Origin deck, is that reasonable? Like that's fine. Once a year, you get an Origin deck. It's like the next one's
I mean,
I don't
yeah,
know
that's probably
Dromai
fine.
or something like.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pick one up?
Yeah, just have the cards.
I'm gonna have it as well. I mean, as more entrenched as a competitive player who just wants the cards, that makes sense for you. As for me, who is a class main of Guardian, of course I'm gonna pick this up. So I don't think it's a bad product, and I don't think $60 is awful. Like at
Yeah.
no point we're like complaining about $60, but like
Yeah, no, it is fine.
it's fine.
Like, it is not something that I'm, like, super excited about that
Hmm.
I think they nailed the KO deck. Uh, they did very well on the KO deck.
Yeah,
There was a couple things that, like, could have been slightly better. I think they nailed the Dio deck. That one they
yeah,
really got right.
that one's really good.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of them are also like hard to make, right? So if you
Yes.
nail the Azalea deck, that one could be a problem. Like I think
Yes.
like I think if you make like a super good Azalea deck, then it's like then there's zero upgrades you'd want to do. And because her deck is pretty, from what I understand, the Azalea deck is pretty straightforward. Like most people run mostly the same thing. And then also she's just really strong as and oppressive as a hero, right? And so
Yes.
like imagine two new players, they're both like, let's go to our LGS. I'll pick up the Dio deck, you pick up the Azalea deck, and they're playing at their kitchen table. And if the Azalea deck is like good, it could just run over most games because Azalea is
Yeah.
pretty straightforward at like she has a fairly like low floor considering how high her ceiling is, and her deck is very strong
Yeah, which
and
is
oppressive.
also why they put 1 Red in the Ledger
Yeah.
in that deck.
Yeah.
That
That's your
that
room
was
for
a very
upgrades
smart
right
choice
there.
by them.
Yeah.
Like, that was a good
So
no, I think it is fine. I think it is them testing something, which is release how do they release heroes that they don't think they can put in limited sets?
I found an interesting thing when looking at my Jarl deck that I've made compared to this one, or just in general, actually, is when I was looking at the Fabry stats, I noticed that they had a stat that I didn't know that they had, which was an average rarity of cards, or at least like a
Hmm,
bar graph of your rarities.
sure.
I'm running like, it's like 80% Majestics. In the
Yeah.
Jarl deck that I feel like has probably as much as I've tuned it, and I'm sure it gets changed more, but like honestly, what's getting changed is probably the commons in the deck. It's probably not the Majestics. Like I'm
Yes.
probably very comfortable with the Majestic
Yep.
I'm running, and and if I sub out a Majestic, it's going to be for another one. And so I think if you're looking at this Jarl deck and you're like, okay, where do I upgrade? I know people listening to this probably aren't thinking that, because I assume most of the people listening to this are more enfranchised players. You're probably in the top 10% if you're listening to this, like, because you're looking for more things to listen to and to learn from or give your take on. So in that sense, you already know, but I would just literally take all the commons out of this deck and replace them. Funny enough, starting with Buckling Blow. Because
Probably
Buckley Blow is
it's
like the first card I threw into the deck, and then the first card that I took straight out.
it's just
Um,
Mangle, right? Oh, no, it's the place the counter one.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
take that
want
out.
that at 4.
Like it's what
If
it.
I don't tunic that, I hate it,
Yes,
and I
exactly.
have no way
Right.
to guarantee that it does its thing.
So like best case scenario. I mean, okay, best case scenario. It is a what's the other four cost that just minus twos basically.
Debilitate.
Debilitate. Best case scenario is debilitate with upside and the fact that it synergizes with your deck, because you could get 10
Yeah.
value off of it, but it's like it's not really happening. Like even if you put it on something like uh I don't know, Crown of Providence, like you're only actually get one value out of putting it on there as opposed to putting it on like a temper piece of equipment where it would be three and now it's only one block. Anyways, Jarl deck, it seems fine. I drop all the commons and stuff full of Majestics, which is something I never wanted to save for Flesh and Blood, but I think makes a lot of sense right now. Because that was one thing I was hyped about Flesh and Blood when we first started playing was like, oh, well, cards don't rotate. That means all these commons will come into handy in the future. I was hoping Majestics wouldn't push out all the commons, and they haven't, but like there are a lot of good
It,
Majestics right now.
I mean, yeah, Majestics are supposed to be more powerful, but like I definitely still remember when I was living down there in Blacksburg. Um, I would go to another store which was entirely new players. I
Mm-hmm.
was by far the most experienced player at that store.
Yeah.
And I went to just play an extra game after Armory one day and handed somebody like a Blitz Briar deck. And I like Dynasty had just came out and I was playing Arachne in Blitz, just like messing around to see what
Yeah.
was happening. And they were just like they like drew up like their second hand. There's so many Majestics in this deck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're just right. You're just playing with the Oldhim Precon
Yeah.
normally.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
like the Majestics are pushed in this game. They're supposed
yeah.
to be. You don't want commons to be the most powerful cards because,
Yeah.
like, especially with the way they've set up the game, and it's like, aside from Mystic and Draconic,
Mm-hmm.
I believe all commons come in Rainbow.
No, because there's a couple of no, those are rares that I'm thinking of. This year's sets, they've had a couple of rare strings.
Yes,
And in
it was like rare
Outsiders, it was that way
cycles.
too, right? Because
Um,
or no, I'm thinking of something different. Outsiders
uh,
is when they introduced like
Outsiders had
Fletch.
traps
They
that
had,
were
they had
like cycles,
traps. Oh
but
no, no,
also
no. Yeah,
the lace cycle
the
at
lace
rare
cycle.
did not change color.
That's true. I was also thinking of like Fletch, where Fletch is like
The
they
Fletches were
they do
weird though,
something different at each color, which
but
is
they also have
but they
four
were
three two
yeah.
for red, yellow, blue.
Yeah, but they were still like a normal thing. But yeah. Yeah, in general, most of the commons have rainbow. Like even I'm actually looking at my commons in the Jarl deck that I went ahead and pulled it up. And it's all like some of the indirectly or directly most synergistic or pushed commons. Pummel,
Yeah.
Winter's
Yep.
Bite,
Yep.
Winter's Grasp, and then the previously banned card Autumn's Touch Blue, right? So like some like heavy sink below, so like some really strong commons, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like, and then we look back to like Icelander, and like one of the card that got banned in Blitz was Aether Ice Fane,
I
which is
forgot
a
about that.
common,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
and you ran 9 of them.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't always run 9 of them, but you usually ran 9 of them. The blue was weird because it was suddenly at 3 and that
Yeah.
changed all the math, but like you just ran yellows and reds. It was one of the few commons that you ran at yellow.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, if you're
that
running,
doesn't happen in this game
yeah,
unless it is like majestic level power.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like when you're scraping down to yellows, it means one of two things. The card's broken or you need that synergy in your deck, right? Like Katsu
Yeah,
would run certain yellows in order to get the
he'd
same
run
effect.
yellow surging strike
Yeah.
because he needs to.
Yes. And those are the two reasons to run yellows. So if someone's running yellows, it's actually I would argue most of the time, not all the time, it's a problem because it implies that they need more of something or something's too good.
In most decks that are not light decks, yes.
Yeah, so like light decks,
The light heroes
I
have
think
their own thing going on, but it's all synergy based.
brute
But like,
decks, yeah,
yeah, if
or
brutes because they need sixes, but like if you're looking at a guardian, they're not running a yellow
no yellows in this list, not a single one,
unless yeah, they have literally 0 yellows in that
zero
list.
yellows.
But like there has to be a reason for it.
Yeah, you got
Also,
to have a
one thing I
reason to
will
run yellow.
say about this list, it is 42 blues and
That's a
18
lot of
reds.
blues.
You are very likely to always have 2 blues to swing your hammer or to
That's
swing summon.
Yeah, I mean, always give them credit. Their armory decks are just consistent. Like they want,
Yes,
yeah.
they have an idea of what the
Mhm.
armory deck is supposed to do, and they commit to it. So like Dio, so KO, there were no non-sixes. Your draw discards could never miss. Your Savage
Mhm.
Beatdowns would always be live.
Great.
Your Bolton deck had 0 blues. It was like 40 yellows or some nonsense, or 36 or whatever.
Mhm.
Azalea is probably a little bit less consistent, or a little bit less than the others. Dio had 21 items to play off the top in 60 cards.
It's a third of the deck. That's more than a third of the deck.
Mara does not go above 15 or 16.
Man, they want you playing something off the top of it.
They want you playing items off the top every turn. Because
Because I mean,
that's the thing they want it to
you
do.
boost a few times, you're gonna see them.
You're going to
Yeah.
see an item.
Yeah.
And for this, they want you to always be able to swing summon.
How many of them were not crank items, or were they all crank?
So you had Fuel Injector, which you could turn back into its resource. So
Okay.
you would refund it.
Yeah.
Um,
Because my question is like, I would
yeah.
assume most of them are crank items just for consistency reasons in an armory deck.
Yes.
So
Especially since they didn't print high octane and they want ways for you to be able to spend all the counters on the gun.
yes,
So I will go
crank
find
items.
that real
Good.
quick because that is easy enough to do.
Also, your microphone is static sound is building back up. Like I think it was quiet and then it was building up over time, like over the last 10 minutes.
Huh.
Crazy.
Okay.
Well, I didn't
I
hear it
will.
right then. What the frick? As soon as I
Oh,
mention it, it's a ghost. Go ahead.
okay. So you have backup protocol, boom grenade, as sets of 3, 1 convection amplifier, 3 dissolving shield, 3 yellow boom grenade, 3 blue backup protocol, 3 cerebellum processor, 3 steam canister. So you have 22 total items.
hmm
4 of them are not crank items.
It's the steam canister
It's the
and
steam canisters, which let you keep items for longer,
yeah.
and it's the 1 convection amplifier that says max V is hitting.
Yes. Oh yeah, they ran exactly one of them. That was clever.
They ran 1 convection amplifier and 2 max V in the list.
That's great. That's you guys are
Like
good.
like I said, I'm very happy with the way they made the Dio deck. As
And
as an intro to Dio,
I think
I'm
the
very
Jarl deck
happy with the way they made it.
the Jarl
And
deck seems
Jarl,
good too. It's
42 blues. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how many blues Jarl ended up on, like
it's
in
I
similar
think
lists,
it's
because you're just
yeah.
swinging Summit every turn.
I think I'm currently running. So I sideboard weird, but like after sideboarding, the deck should run 37 to 38, where I can run up to 41.
Sure.
Um,
And I'm guessing some of those reds are sinks, at least.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I have 3 sinks, 3 Oasis because I ain't dealing with that. Uh, and the 3 Unforgetting, Unforgiving, which is kind of also
Yep.
like you're not concerned about. Um, I think just by flipping through this Jarl Precon really quickly, I'm pretty sure their ices and earths are 50-50.
Sounds about right.
Which is if something they want done, they did it. Actually, the deck seems pretty mirrored in general, right? So they have Amulet of Ice, which seems to be mirroring Sigil of Earth, and then they have Strength of Sequoia and Emerging Avalanche. Like I think they did a lot of like Earth Ice mirroring in their cards. I don't know. It's not. I think this deck actually like by itself might be weaker than the other precons, if not for some of the Majestics and then the legendary
Yes.
arm piece carrying it so hard.
Yes, 100%. And it's like this is
And the weapon, right? So like a lot of these blues suck,
and
but the
yes.
weapon makes them
And
worth
what
it.
we were saying earlier is like a symptom of this where it's like we're saying that like there is no value beyond the Majestics and the Legendary, and that's because the commons that are around it are so weak. Like you have not seen Emerging Avalanche played in a constructed deck ever at a competitive event.
I'm sure there was some Oldhams that did it in the very first one.
Like literally their first one.
Yeah, literally their
Like
first one,
it
and then
is
they
it is
play
not a
online.
card that you saw Oldhams
No.
talking about or playing.
When fused create a frostbite, like that's asking for it. Costs 2.
It costs 2.
It costs 2.
It is and it's only a +1
I
buff
don't know. I
next
think
turn.
even worse than that, Strength of Sequoia, because it makes a seismic
Yes.
surge, and it's like, well, now you're just gambling on what your next hand looks like.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you have to have the Mangle available to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
no, I think it is. I think this is a weird balance where they have to put it on Armory deck level, but they have to put out Majestics that make Jarl playable at a constructed level. And it's
I think actually like the weapon and the Majestics, like you could absolutely this deck against other Armory decks, it could just like have its day once or twice, where it's just like everything lines up, I win the game. Which is kind of cool.
I think it could very reasonably fatigue Dio.
That's actually probably true.
By the way, they did put out their Armory deck battle, and it is Dio versus Jarl.
I watched the first 15 minutes. I have not finished it.
I watched the first like 3 minutes because I was on my way out of work.
Fair enough. They played out the Emerging Avalanche. I think it was turn 2, which
it was turn
funny.
0.
Turn 0? Oh, okay, then that makes
or turn 1, something like that.
It was turn 1 because turn 0 was they played Cerebellum.
Oh, play processor, no crank pass. Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, okay. So I think we've rambled on about the best hero in Flesh and Blood for way too long, and
he's fine.
He's very fine. Some people are saying he's better than Oldham, and that's just he's not better than Crown of Seeds, but
that's he is better than Oldham. He is not better than Crown of Seeds.
I don't know. I actually
if you give both of them Crown of Seeds, I think Jarl is better.
I do really like with Jarl, after you've taken a piece of their equipment, Blizzard and the Pulse become insane because you play them and then they get a frostbite, and it's just so good. But also,
bro, that's all I did is Icelander. I played Blizzard and it comes with a frostbite.
Let's
go.
It's so.
What do you mean?
I'm looking at these deck lists that don't have Blizzard in it, and I'm like, bro, you got
that's
3 of them in there. I don't care if they're in your sideboard permanently.
It is minimum in your sideboard because it is a full blue tax on people's turns.
Because
it's
not just a 1-for-1 card. It is a blue tax against decks that want to go again.
It is a Winter's Bite that they don't get to choose to discard a red.
Yeah. It's so good.
And it's a blue for you.
I mean, I've had the Pulse turn out really well too. Like Aurora comes in, does the classic, like, I forget,
discharge into something.
It's like 7 with going. 7 with go again. You play Pulse, they get a frostbite, and they're like, frick, do I pitch an entire card or do I just move straight to Arsenal? So that feels super good. All of that to say, I do miss having Oldham's Ice React, because that is also
Ice React was pretty good. Ice React is what, like,
Earth React's really good against different decks. So I miss Oldham in some ways, but I really like Jarl in different ways, and I think Jarl's probably healthier.
Well, yes, but it's not because of any of his text. It's just because Crown of Seeds is gone.
I guess so.
Like, that's actually what it is.
Earth React, I feel like, is actually kind of toxic. Like, it's kind of awful in some contexts.
We can I'm going to segue this into our ban list a little bit.
Sure.
Was like Earth React was a really good way for them to balance fatigue decks.
Okay.
Because 1 card out of hand for 2 block was not good.
No.
It was very inefficient on the turn cycle. It was very good in terms of like a full,
but it was like
long game strategy.
It was a consistent 2 block, not out of deck.
2 prevention, not out of deck. So it's
0
like,
card.
imagine if you could play Take It on the Chin every turn, but it went to the bottom of your no, it's just drone, except it's a blue,
Yeah, and
and it
drone's
stops
broken.
arcane.
Drone's broken, and it stops.
Drone's fucked up.
Now, okay, see? There's a problem here.
So, there is, but there isn't, because you also have to play the Earth cards for it, and the
True.
Earth cards also blocked 2 a lot of the time on their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Especially all the Earth cards we're getting out of Rosetta
I
were
mean,
basically all 2 blocks.
by the end of it, most people were like only Earth reacting with So Tomorrow, Autumn's Touch, Pulse.
If Sotomayor was
Pulse was
even
great,
in,
but yeah.
Pulse was banned for a lot of Oldham's time after Starvo, because
Yeah.
it was after US Nats, Pulse got banned.
Yep.
Um,
Pulse was good.
Yeah, I mean,
Ice React
it was
and Earth
great.
React. It's 3 value, and you get to strip a card. Super good.
Yes, if you could double react, because I remember watching a deck tech that Yuanji Lee did
Mm-hmm.
at Calling Utrecht in, like, Uprising release month in, like, July of 22. And they had, like, yellow Earthlore Surge or something in there, so they could 2-card react
Pretty good.
and Rampart, and so they could get double react, and they could still Rampart and Crown.
I love that. I actually love that.
And it was just wild to me. But no,
Yellow's Autumn Touch. Yellow.
I don't think
Autumn Touch.
Oldham's ability was busted. I think it would look significantly stronger in this meta than it did whenever he was around.
Mhm.
Literally whenever he was around. There
Mhm.
were not enough Earth cards in that deck because he couldn't afford to. Right now, he would put at least 6 Autumn's Touch in his deck.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't get access to the new 3-block Ice Earth card. It's a Jarl spec.
That's a good thing.
But he would be playing Pulse. Like, Oldham would be good if he was around right now, and that's like ignoring CYB.
Yeah.
Like,
I haven't played
also Jarl can just play CYB and Rampart.
I don't want to think
Either
about
way,
it too much because I don't have a playset of CYB.
you're
Not out
gonna
of
get him as
principle.
Armory promos
I am gonna get him as primary promos. I'm probably gonna start.
in EA.
I'm probably gonna start with the. I don't know.
The not
Blue one, if I can.
not blue one.
Not blue one if I can. So I can
Yeah.
play those. Before we go into our next segment, I do want to remind everyone that this is a live call-in show. If you want to call in and literally ask us, tell us your opinion on the ban list, I'm about to go over it. So we had a ban list come up. Cards got banned in almost every format.
Yes,
In every
stuff got
format?
moved. I think stuff got moved around in every competitive format.
Every official format other than official competitive format, right? So UPF
Yes.
didn't get hit, and some formats like Clash, obviously, they get indirectly hit.
They're separate.
But like
They're separate ban lists.
Yeah. Specifically, I guess we're going to talk about CC, right? I guess we can mention the other ones first, and then jump into CC, which is obviously the biggest format.
Yeah.
Commoner, Aether Ironweave banned. Chain too strong, but clearly Icelander not strong enough to be a, because I thought Icelander was a problem.
She already got bans.
She get bans? What'd she get banned?
Amulet?
Oh, I guess
Yeah,
she.
no,
Because we were talking about how she had Findle's Fighting Spirit now.
That's not like crazy for her.
It's good.
It's nice.
It's very good.
It is good. It was not Chain getting Deadwood Dirge for RuneGate.
Okay, yep, you're right. Never mind. Okay, so in the Living Legend,
Chain has won the last few Commoner Gold Foil events.
Okay.
And they've all been RuneGate Chain.
Oh.
With Rosetta stuff. Because those cards just get insane. Aether Ironweave is a nice little hit to him because it's like 1 health plus 2 resources.
I love how much they were able to do to RuneGate in this set that didn't have any RuneGate in it.
Yes. Oh my god,
Whether
RuneGate is so...
on
All the
purpose or
Vin set
accident.
decks look so different
Yeah.
now compared to pre-Rosetta. It's wild how different they look. And they're so much better. It's insane. That being said, Chain just uses it better.
Yeah. Because he can just draw the cards for free.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to pull cards out of his hand to put it into the banish zone. He just gets he gets it off the top of his deck. But
Yes.
so that's why Aether Iron Weave is
but
banned.
that's there. Chain is still going to be good.
Yeah.
Because he gets to play Heart and Crossdrap still.
Oh.
Which is not
that
the
card
same.
Is so good.
It is still going to be good for him.
Yeah.
This is a nerf, but it's not like end of the world nerf, but it is substantial.
So,
but Commoner's going to look interesting for Battle Hardened Portland.
Oh, yep, that's true. I'm excited about that. There's going to be coverage of that, right?
Nope, because that's calling day 2.
Frick.
That's CC calling.
We need some more cameras on the tables. Holy frick.
It is up to Savage Feats to get top 8 of the Battle Hardened going at the same time as top 8 of the calling. Okay. Because they are capable of doing that and recording that and then putting it online.
We as a community need to be funneling more money into Flesh and Blood so that sponsors want to sponsor things so that Savage Feats can hire me.
Run 4 tables at a time and we can run Battle Hardened coverage and calling coverage at the same time.
Coverage at Worlds.
Fucking please, dude. Oh my god. Do you want to know what they did for top 4 of the Team Cup?
What?
They just had like one match at a time and they just had the tables and then they had chairs blocking off the area around the tables and you could stand like at the edge of the chairs and watch. And that was it. And I'm so grumpy about it. And we didn't get to see anything of day 1. They wouldn't let spectators in.
That's so crazy.
I could not walk in and watch them play Team LL. And that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. There's no fucking reason for that.
Which is why I actually have Brody right here to talk about it. No, but I do want to get him on to like ask him about it at one point. However, to go back to what we were talking about.
Yes. Sorry.
Actually, I wanted to derail a little bit too. I'm so excited to see how much Rune Chant was in Rosetta because I remember when Tales of Aria came out, we had just had Monarch, then we had Tales. This is our second Runeblade in a row that had nothing to do with Rune Chants.
Didn't give a shit.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "What? Rune Chants do they not matter anymore? Or Rune Chants not good enough?"
Even Chain is Rune Chant matters now.
Yeah, even Chain is Rune Chant matters. Turns out that it's not like Viserai is of a class of Rune Chant matters Runeblades. It's that Runeblades care about Rune Chants. Just
to some degree.
To some degree. Yep. Okay. LL open the floodgates restricted. Starstruck unrestricted. I'm cool with this.
This is good.
It's great.
So last week Mara said called for a Tome of Aetherwind restriction.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of us now agree, like, because I ended up talking to her after this ban. And I was like, this is a better ban for Kano.
It's a bigger ban, right?
It is a bigger ban.
Yeah.
But it is also a better ban for the format as a whole.
Because it's 8 cards that are effectively banned, right?
It is 8, but it's different.
Okay.
So it's the way that Open the Floodgates works is it's a tome that gets buffed by Wildfire because it always hits a zap.
Oh, that's good.
But it also gains you 1 resource if you draw double blue.
That's really good, actually.
So, hitting Tome of Aetherwind, restricting it, and going to Open the Floodgates, you're still you're like not quite the CC version, but like it's a decent little nerf, especially into your pitch stack matchups. But you still have like it's just a really like awkward play pattern of if you go Wildfire and it's for 6, which is very standard, 4 plus Metacarpus plus Crucible, and they can AB3 it. So your next thing is buffed by 3, which means your Open the Floodgates is buffed by 3. If you Metacarpus it to make it +4, and they only have AB3, they literally can't stop the Floodgates from surging.
That's crazy.
Which means if they hit another Floodgates,
that's so
and
good.
You can't stop that from surging, it'll do the same thing.
My goodness.
So what they stopped with this was not like the full. They stopped full power, like absolute degeneracy, because it was just a chain reaction of like you
It
had to
was
fully prevent the wildfire as much as possible because like otherwise you can't AB enough. If you can't AB enough on the floodgates, you can't stop it from surging,
could
which means you can't like stop the next one from surging. Like the truly like if they were to restrict Tome of Aetherwind, it would have changed literally nothing of what I saw Peter do in Osaka.
could you say that they stopped them
Close
from opening the floodgates?
close the
Close
floodgates,
the floodgates? Because that sounds
pretty
like
much.
floodgates. That sounds like a chain
Yes.
reaction.
Yes. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
that's
is
funny.
appropriately named.
So
Um,
the other one, just because I want to get to CC,
yep,
the other
yeah,
one that was unrestricted was Starstruck, which is obviously the least biggest offender of all of the Starvo cards banned, right? Awakening,
100%.
Crippling Crush, Oakenfold.
Yep,
Yeah. Well, technically, I
cool.
guess Warmongers,
Nah. No, the Starstruck is great,
but Starstruck's good.
to unrestrict because it's not a blue, but it's also not a red. It's a yellow, so it's a nice little in between, lets them play Spinal and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, it is disruptive. It does not just say you discard 2. If you
Yes.
have your gas hand and you can't block it out, you can be like, "I'll just pass. Can you do it again?"
It also depends on the hero too, right? So like,
It depends on the hero. Some heroes are completely unaffected. Prism's like, "Sure, I'll take 10 and I'll play 3 Spectra."
or even like Runegate Chain, there's like hands he can play because his attacks
I'm
are
gonna
so
play a
big.
bunch of 6 power attacks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna block with Husk. I'll
Chain's
take
different now.
4. I'll get crushed. That's fine. But I'll play just a bunch of 6 power attacks. That's fine.
Sucks for Briar because she's
Briar doesn't
playing.
love it. Aurora doesn't love it. Zen,
Yeah, yeah,
Phi,
yeah.
they don't like it. But they also don't have to discard their power cards to Crippling Crush.
True. Yes.
Here's
They
the
just
other side of this that I
yeah,
really think is funny.
sure.
Starstruck has Unity.
Yes.
When you block with it in a card
Yes.
from hand, make a Seismic Surge.
Make a
It's a
surge.
7 cost.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny? Somersaulting that.
Then you get to just play it again because it synergizes with itself.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I
Uh-huh.
had already
Yeah.
I'd already talked about that when it came out, where I was like, man, if
Yeah.
you just have one in Arsenal and you also draw another one, then it works with itself. And I thought that was a super
Uh-huh.
cool combo. But if you
Now it super works with itself.
somersault it, ooh,
It is
somersault's
also like
good.
one of the least offensive cards to like offensively somersault, where it's like
Mhm,
you fuse it on like a 5 card hand, play it, and then you somersault it and you put it back in Arsenal. It's like
mhm.
if that's your Starvo fuse that costs 7 and I'm not getting hammered, fine.
Sure.
I'm okay with that
Yeah.
because like you can't crown it away at that point. You just have to hit it. It's like if you're gonna hit that anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
Like so I think that's a great place to add a little bit of power back without making things super
Mhm.
degenerate. You're not back on 3 cripplings, you're not on 3 Oakenolds, which are like both probably
Super awful.
way worse than Starstruck, where it's like Starstruck just you're not
Crippling into
forced to give
Winter's
up any card.
Wail is evil.
Yeah.
So Blitz Hadron Collider banned. If you watch the pre-stream of this, you could see why. And then
Nice little hit to Datadol, which was after the Dio deck was a little degenerate.
yes, very
We
good.
were getting we played like a half dozen games of it on Talishar, and I think
Hmm.
we were averaging above 20 value per turn on a 3 intellect hero.
So I think the other thing was Zen is no longer living legend status and Belittle is banned,
Yes.
which I thought would lead to another memeable moment from James White, but I don't think I've seen anyone meme about it. But it was a very I felt like I felt it when he said it. He described twice because he did it at when he announced it, and then he also did it in an interview with
Dev
Commando
Talk.
Cardboard Commando and Dev Talk.
Dice Commando?
Dice Commando. He did an interview with Dice Commando and he repeated it there as well, where he was like, they delivered the worst customer
Yep.
experience with Blitz
Blitz
Zen.
Zen, full power.
Imagine you buy it and then 2 weeks later it's
Yeah.
banned. And it's not
Well,
even
but then
like
also it's
you
like you
bought it
go into those
late. It's just
yeah.
like it just
Your
happened so
skirmishes
fast.
were on the wrong week.
Oh, yeah, that was like a whole
That's
thing.
literally what it
That
was.
was like a whole thing where it was just
Yeah.
like banned before you even got to your skirmish. And it's like, okay, I got this deck together. I hope he's legal by the time, because we were throwing bets around, not bets, but we were like, he could be gone in the first week. Theoretically, he could have been gone in the first week.
Yes.
So LL status has changed in Blitz. You need 1,000 points. Points will probably be easier to get to than in CC still, but
Um,
not.
I think what they actually did is because they changed so skirmishes initially were like 1 LL point or
Yeah,
2 LL points,
yeah,
which is why Blitz could be half the number total.
yeah.
This is just them lining everything up, so it's really easy for them to match up a season of points to however much percentage of an LL they want a hero to get. Um, I'm totally fine with that.
1,000 LL
This is
points
them,
across the board is also really nice too. Just
yeah,
saying.
make everything uniform. I'm
Mhm.
cool with that.
Yep.
Um, it was a nice little flavor touch that like the half health heroes needed half the LL points. That was nifty, but it made balancing weird when they also went to like 2 skirmish seasons this year, which like we're gonna have the second one for this year in like a month, um, and then we're gonna have 3 next year. Like
Yeah.
all of it is fine. Them bringing Zen back when he doesn't have bonds, he doesn't have Art of War. They're taking Belittle from him as well. I'm cool with that.
Fine. He's fine.
It's fine. He's going to be a good deck. He's going to be a strong deck. He doesn't have the rune blades to prey on that he does in CC
Yeah.
right now. Um, his Victor matchup is going to be a little bit
Yeah.
tense for him just because Victor is so much more,
Mhm.
I don't want to say explosive, but drawing a card off his ability is much more impactful in a half health format.
Yeah. His
Um,
Victor is just
his
he's he's
value is
he's
so
very
good.
he's very high rolly at times. And certain cards more so than others too. And he
Yeah,
can just
for sure.
sometimes I feel bad when I'm playing against a new player and I'm playing Victor and I'm like, activate
It's just doing the
Trounce.
thing.
And it's like, I play Trounce, we both reveal a card. Oh, I revealed a card that says when I win a card doing this, I get a Might token that we put at the bottom. Then I win the Trounce, then I get this, then I get this. This is a gold token, so Victor triggers. And it's like, all I did was block 3. And we had to
I
spend
blocked for
5
3. I
minutes
got
trying to go through
yeah,
all the things I just earned for blocking 3.
I got 2 damage, a resource, a gold token, and I drew a card. Hmm.
I blocked 3.
Yeah. Turns out that's pretty good
Yeah.
in Blitz. So like Zen's gonna be good. He's not gonna be busted, but he will be good.
He will be good. Definitely a deck
Yeah.
to look at to play or to play against. I got a little distracted there at one point because I'm reading about Hadron Collider and they described some of the Armory deck cards as being sip sips. Do you know
Yeah.
sip sip?
Start and play, stay and play.
Sip sip. I love
Yeah. I
that.
don't like that
You don't like that?
abbreviation.
You don't like the acronym sip sip?
No, don't. I sure don't.
I kind of hate it.
Same.
Classic constructed.
Yeah.
Things happened. All right, next topic. No, they did both
It's good.
what everyone expected and also maybe the best way to handle it at the same time, right? So
Yes.
High Octane banned. They
Yep.
said it was probably going to be banned, that it
They
was
they said
definitely on
it
their
was
watch list.
on they said it was on the watch list, and then it was alluded to on the stream for Worlds. If you
Mhm.
didn't watch round 14, Sam Sutherland versus Matt Rogers, Dio against Enigma. Sam has legitimately, I think it's actually a fully 30-minute turn where he just kills Matt Rogers from 46 through a full hand and equipment because of high octane.
High Octane's a
He
good
gets
card.
he gets reasonably lucky in this game,
Yes.
but this is what he was doing to Enigmas all weekend. Um,
And then other than
high
that,
octane getting banned is big.
yeah.
So
Count Your Blessings blue. Blue.
yes,
The blue one banned.
yes,
We're seeing
I
color
like
ban-
this change.
We're seeing color bans again.
Yeah, I mean that's not surprising. Like to see a color ban again.
It's different
It's
and probably better, right? So like the last time we saw
yes,
color bands with Zen and CC, he was playing
bonds of
all of the
ancestry.
bonds of ancestry, and basically they quote unquote turned into a majestic by making only the red playable. Yeah.
Yep.
So they banned the blue and yellow. and that worked well.
It
was
worked
fine.
well enough.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But this is different. It's probably
Yeah.
better.
I
Count your blessings
I
blue.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think they threaded the needle fairly well on this one. CYB, they took out the 3 worst ones. You're gonna put
Hmm.
3 blue blocks in their block 3s in their place. You're getting 24 less value out of Count Your Blessings overall, but you also play you can't draw the blues first. So it
True.
feels less bad there. Um, you're going to replace them with blue block 3s, so you're actually only losing 15 value, which also puts the onus on every other deck just a little bit lower.
Hmm.
It's still 2 for 5, which is 2 for 5 with go again as an instant, which is still fine
Surging strike.
as long as you can curve it into something.
Yeah.
Um, we see Enigma do this very well with footsteps or any other ward attack. We see New do this very well with any of her D reacts. We saw Hamilton on his CYB New list very frequently go assassin attack, 1 cost react, pitching a blue, and then play Count Your Blessings. And that was his 4-card hand, and it was very efficient.
There was actually
Very efficient.
his deck was really interesting, and it reminded me of Icelander in the sense where it felt like he could just always have a way to use his resources. I really liked the
Yes.
addition of the generic reaction arm piece in certain matchups. What's it called?
A rousing
Generic
wave?
legendary
Oh, Vambrace? No.
pay 1 reaction, damage can't be prevented.
Vambrace of Determination.
It's in his sideboard.
It's in his sideboard for Enigma,
Yeah. But I
but he was
mean
playing
even
he's playing
that
a
is just
rousing
like
wave for
he's got
he has
throughout his
ways to
equipment.
always
Yeah.
he has ways to always use all of his cards, which is a very Hamilton thing to do.
Love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
like this is a very that is a very Hamilton deck, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised to see him playing that deck still, just with 3 blue block 3s in the place of the Count Your Blessings there. He may not. We'll
Who
see
knows?
if he's at Portland. Um, I think this is again, this is LSS with a very elegant ban, a la Bullseye Bracers, a la Autumn's Touch, like
Yeah.
all of
Sometimes
those.
sometimes they just find the
Just
mark and you're like,
yeah,
if they could have done this in development, it would have
yes,
been no one genuinely perfect. But
yeah,
like seeing them find it in the ban list is also just fine too.
yep.
Um,
I think they did very well
which
on
also
this.
leads me to like maybe this is a short question. Maybe it's long. I don't know. But they talked about or they mentioned several rarely, and I feel like it was like hidden when they'd say it. They wanted to give High Octane like a moment,
Sure.
kind of like they did with Stubby Hammer's Phi,
Yeah.
is what I'm remembering. And I wonder if sometimes they print cards that are just a little pushed, and they
Yeah.
know it's a little pushed, and they're like,
Yep.
"We can let this go for like a
We're,
minute,
we're, we'll
right?
let it we'll let it fly.
Let it cook for a minute."
I mean, I
Dio's
think they
not
do
gonna
that.
win Worlds or nothing.
I mean, like she didn't. She put 2
True,
decks in top 4.
but that's half a top four.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Like, or was it 1 or
I don't remember.
2? Hang on.
Genuinely don't remember.
Deck
Aurora,
lists.
Enigma,
Aurora
Dio.
Enigma, one Dio for sure.
What was the other matchup?
It was both. It
Okay,
was both Dios made top 4.
that's what I
Um,
thought.
I but at the same time, like I don't think Dio was. I think they threaded another needle on this, which
Mhm.
was giving people the exact right amount of time to figure out the deck.
Is that okay for them to do? Is that gonna backfire at one point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they're gonna do that at one point, and we're gonna have the deck figured out, and it's like all of day 2 is just
Everyone's
this
gonna
one
have the deck
deck.
figured out. Day 2 is gonna be 50% this deck.
Yeah,
Like,
and then it's all the top 8.
yeah. No. So
Ooh,
I
you know what
talked.
that reminds me of was Star Vote, where they were like, they're not
Yeah,
gonna figure out Starbow,
the casino.
and then like
As soon as the
we
casino variant came out,
immediately figured it out, and everyone
not
casino.
not immediately, but like when it happened, everyone knew exactly this was what we should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
doing
yeah. There was no
and jumped
question.
on it.
Yeah.
Um,
So also a
no,
simpler
so
deck, but yeah.
I
Go ahead.
talked to so many people in Osaka and like during Worlds where as soon as they were like, I couldn't figure out Dio, like what was the missing piece. It just didn't like click.
Our man on the
And
scene, Kevin Smurf Murphy, interviewing. We should have given you a mic. Go ahead.
and then they saw optical monocle.
Yeah. No. Yeah. 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 Of course.
And that was when for me, and I think for everyone else I
Yeah.
talked
Yeah. Yeah.
to, that was the moment because I was like, I was convinced up until that moment that System Reset was a trash card and it didn't make sense and you shouldn't run it. And then as soon as I saw monocle, I paused for about 10 seconds
Yeah.
and I thought about how monocle interacted with everything in the deck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I
It's
understand it now.
great.
That's the best deck in the game. That's it. That's just the best deck in the game
Yeah.
because it suddenly makes System Reset like work. And they hit, whether this was intentional or not, they hit exactly the right amount of time
Yeah.
for people to figure that out because we had Sam Sutherland running that in Worlds, and we had a
Hmm.
couple people in the calling running that.
Hmm.
But Alan Lau, I don't think was on Optical Monocle on Dio.
Yeah.
He was not. So like they hit, whether this was intentional or not, they gave exactly the right amount of time for people to like
I feel like
find the super busted version of this deck.
I feel like you got to be like, you're just guessing at that point, right? So it's not intentional. Like I don't think LSS are like, by Worlds we're expecting exactly
Yep.
2 out of 3 people to have it figured out, and like
Yes,
that's you're just guessing at that point. You
I
can't
agree.
actually do the math for that. So
100% agree. They lucked into it,
hmm
but they did.
now
Like
to
it
be
was, and
yeah,
I
go ahead.
say this because Battle Hardened Hiroshima the next weekend.
Hiroshima or Hiroshima?
I'm not honestly
Tomato or
100% sure.
tomato?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I believe. Hang on a sec. I have the top 8
Now that you've said
written
that, I'm
down
like,
somewhere.
wow, that actually just sounds correct. Like I've been saying Hiroshima my whole life.
Where
Hmm.
is it? Where are we at? The top 8 for this Battle Hardened: CC, 1 Ira, 4 Enigma, and 3 Dio.
That's a little more polar than that's a little
Uh huh.
more
Polarized,
yeah, polarized than Worlds
solved.
was. Yeah, solved.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
if
it
that was
is.
Worlds, people would have been complaining.
There would have been. They missed that by
Torches.
1 week of premiere play.
Well, I mean, a lot happens
Y-
in a week, but yeah, you're
yes,
right. You're right.
they. If there is one more event, they are so. I don't know if that is intentional or if it was luck, but it's like they put the last week of PQs with no premiere events the week before Worlds,
So
and
great.
it worked.
It's so great.
Like
I hope
because
they
like
don't
the next event
rest on that.
gone.
That's crazy. I'm
So
gonna have to like spend some time on the DO list just so that I know what's happening. Because I
well,
think,
it's totally different now.
well, yeah, and I think that's fine. I think I was thinking about that.
Yes.
Was I was like, I'm not gonna try to figure out this deck, and then they ban high octane, and then I have to
Yeah.
learn how it plays again. But
Which
okay,
every
so
Dio player is having to do right now.
we're saying that's perfect and all. Count Your Blessings did win Worlds.
It did.
Is that a problem to you?
Competitively, no.
Okay.
Um, in terms of tournament, like running a tournament and
Hmm.
streaming a tournament, it ended up being not great.
Yeah.
It was a touch too slow for this meta, and again, I think this is something that like they we got things a little bit offset from the way they tested them. So it's like they have Briar and Starvo. We
Mhm.
get Briar, then we get Starvo
Yep.
after Briar's been knocked down. So
Hmm.
Starvo's still up there. I think they had everything with the books, and Rainbow CYB.
Yep.
We get all
And
the books
that
banned.
makes sense because like during books, CYB means nothing. That
Zen just destroys it.
no one brings CYB. It makes zero
Absolutely runs
sense.
it over. Yeah.
0 sense with books or Art of War or anything. You're just like, why would you ever
Yep.
want to be gaining life instead of doing something to the game?
Yeah. So I think we got that a little bit offset where it's
Yeah,
like they were testing CYB, it was going to the printers, and then they were like, "Ooh, we might need to reset the game."
a bit.
And then CYB comes out in a not full power game. And it gets to go a little it doesn't run it over, but it
CYB
is very solid.
is a solid deck when sh- it's a tier 1 ish deck,
When they
tier
didn't
1 tier 2
necessarily
deck
intend it to be.
in as soon yeah. And that deck shouldn't be. Like it's a I hate to call it a gimmick deck, but that's kind of a gimmicky deck and you don't want that
Oh,
in the in tier 1.
exactly the CYB deck? Yes, not
Yes.
control itself because
No.
they do that whole spiel
No.
on what
Yeah, yeah.
control looks
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but, like, specifically CYB, sure.
Especially
To
something like,
me,
I don't know, CYB Betsy. Like,
yeah.
that's a
Well, it's
gimmicky
like
deck.
you I look at CYB and I'm like, this is a draft gimmick where you took 1 early and you saw 3 more, and then you get paid off for it. And that's fine. I
And
don't
I think it's also cool if in like, and I know people won't, but if in 5 years somebody accidentally or someone intentionally wins a battle hardened because they found the right meta to
yeah,
put a CYB in their deck, CYBs in their deck.
yep,
It's like fully unbanned at that point. It's been 5 years, no one cares about it. Other things are happening, and then
yep.
someone brings it to a battle hardened and wins. You know what? Props to you. And then also everyone in the next one is bringing poison the well. So like,
Which, like, they
I think
also
that's
knew that it
fine.
was going to be, like, a borderline it was gonna be a real enough thing because they made fucking Armory promos for
Oh, that's right.
it.
That's right. I just assumed that they didn't think that, but
So,
okay.
like, they knew
Yeah.
it was real enough,
Yeah.
but this is a this is a well-targeted ban
Yeah.
that I like and is a good adjustment and probably a good response to what they had tested what I think they had tested versus what we are playing.
And when all the CYB yellows and red promos dry up, I'm still going to be grabbing the blues before other promos because
They will come back.
they will come back. Um
Yep.
last thing I want to talk about real quickly if you got the time for
Yeah.
it is
Yep.
this line. Fundamentally, I don't think counter blessings is a problem. The problem is the lack of agency that's currently exists to engage with control techs when they're this good. And then they go on to talk about the new card Jagged Edge that has been announced for the Hunted,
Sure.
where it says target weapon attack is +3
Yeah.
and damage you would deal can't be prevented. Um,
Damage this attack would deal can't be prevented.
damage this would deal can't be prevented. The
Wait.
no no no.
Uh.
Target weapon attack gains +3 and
Okay.
quote
Yeah.
damage this would deal can't be prevented. We're thinking
Okay.
the same thing.
Yes. It is specific to the attack in that case. It is
Yeah.
not given to the weapon for the rest of the turn.
No, no,
Important
no,
to note.
no. Yes. Um yeah, target weapon attack. So
Yes.
the they talk about how, and I think they talked about it in the dev update too, where they're like, over this next year, what you're going to be seeing is what we were thinking about a year ago, which was
Yep.
certain classes can't handle certain things. Not necessarily
Yes.
more silver bullet cards, but mechanics that were exclusive to some classes are coming around to others.
Okay.
Probably is how I would describe it. I guess you could also
Um.
call it silver bullet
I
cards,
mean,
but
it was just like one of the things in their BNR was the statement of um we it takes about a year to get from to respond to what's happening if we miss something,
which is so
which
crazy
is
how well they work on this game considering. But yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
And they specifically cite Jagged Edge as this is something that like we're putting in place because Enigma or like was put in place because Enigma was a little too good.
Yeah.
And it was something that they probably identified at some point during They identified at least during hunted development.
Yeah.
Um, and Jagged Edge, I also believe we know to be a majestic as well, which makes it also easier to balance for limited and
Yes.
slot in for
Yes.
limited.
Yep.
So he could have been very late in hunted development cycle as well. Um, so
I don't know how
it's
much prevention is going to be in hunted, considering the
not
classes.
much, I would
Probably not
assume,
much at
which makes me
all.
think this is just like a generic 1-for-3 attack react, which there might not be a ton of them in hunted. Um, hunted already looks to care more about draconic chain links for the draconic heroes, and I don't think we've seen a chaos warrior yet. So
Ooh.
um, I assume it's
Ooh.
just going to be warrior.
I
But
assume it is.
like that's part of just like the delay that's going on. But like if we're going to talk about like agency versus control decks, it's like that's such a weird, that's such a difficult balance for them to strike in a game like Flesh and Blood, which is very it is more deterministic than other card games because of the way your turn cycles work, because of the way your deck works throughout the
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something that like we already talked about. Is that like losing blue CYBs means you have 15 less health in your deck.
Yes.
What game operates like that? How do you balance? Like that's those are the levers they're pulling on to balance this game, and they have to very precisely adjust those because it's like if the aggro decks are just plus 10 damage in their deck over
Mm-hmm.
control decks, then they just play the long game deterministically
Yeah.
plus 10.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, real
But
quick.
if
Yeah.
go ahead.
Real quick, shout out to Will. He said the Jarl deck is on the database. We've been talking about it. You missed that a little bit. If you
Yeah.
search AJV, that's the set code. It just shows up.
Yep. Armory Jarl
Cool to
betrayed me.
see you, Will. The uh, frick, I had a response to what you were saying. Oh, there was in certain games like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, if you go to quote unquote fatigue with those games, which you're not
Yeah.
supposed to, or even Star Wars Unlimited, there's like
Yeah.
a anti game taking
Yeah. You.
forever mechanic
Yep.
where people start taking damage as the game progresses too long or something to that effect. And I would play this is before Flesh of Blood. I would play, I guess it was Hearthstone, where I would play decks where the idea is to like have people lose to whatever that mechanic is.
Their
Because
fatigue
yeah,
damage thing.
I'd
Yeah.
find a way to, and I'd be like, oh, I got 3 more cards in my deck. That means I'm up 3 life, and which is kind of like in Flesh and Blood, but it's not in Flesh and Blood.
It's
It's
not.
it's it's such a core mechanic as opposed to me trying to like gimmick something out of a game, like force something
Yes.
that's not really there. Um,
Yeah. Because it was like a question of like it becomes a question of for like let's take Aurora versus Enigma, which was our
mhm.
finals. It was can you present let's call it 200 damage
That's fair.
against
That's
Enigma,
very fair. Yeah.
which is a fucking lot for a
Yes.
60 card deck to present.
Yes.
That means you are getting for every card out of deck, you're getting 3.3 value or something,
Mhm.
which is not easy to do.
No.
It's doable, but like without sacrificing, because you also have to then not sacrifice your turn cycle math. Because to if you're in order to do that 200 damage, if you have to take like half your turns have to be 6 value, you give your opponent agency.
Yeah.
You give your opponent time. Whereas if you're going to present 12 to 13 every turn still,
They could start.
and they have to take 6 of that
Mhm.
to present an on hit back to you that you just like give your armor on the first one, and then you get to do your combo turn. Like
They
this is something we
Enigma
went
can.
back and
Yeah.
we were doing the math for Aurora versus Enigma. How much damage do you push on an Arc Lightning plus Flicker Wisp turn?
50. I
You're
don't
gonna
know.
push off just Arc Lightning and Flicker Wisp about 7
Oh,
over
just
the top
between
of
the
their
yeah.
blocks.
Oh, over their blocks. Okay, I'm
Yes,
following. Yes, got it.
over the top of their blocks.
Mhm.
That's about how much you're pushing for an Arc Lightning Flicker Wisp, and then your Aether Iron Weave plus Gold is worth like 8,
Okay. Yeah.
which is
That's
another 8
yeah.
that you're just going to push at some
Mhm.
point. So you're gonna do it 3 times plus you're gonna gold push. So it's 21 for the 3 combos plus 8. 29 is what you're gonna push.
That's not enough.
That by
Right
itself is not
there.
enough,
Right
but you
there.
can probably find another 11.
Hopefully.
That's not unreasonable to find another
Mhm,
11.
mhm.
Um, some people were running Remembrance, which just you grab an Arc Lightning, Flicker Wisp, and an E-Strike, and then you just
That's really good.
do it. Um, but like then it's like we do the math for double Arc Lightning plus Flicker Wisp, double
Mhm.
Flicker Wisp plus Arc Lightning, and we can go through that math. And it's not deterministic for like one from start of game to end, but it's like
Actually, but yeah, it
these control decks are just stat checking you to a degree. This is what Enigma's always done. Enigma is the best example we've had of this. Oldhim did this.
Mhm.
Enigma does it better.
Well, I think so to go back to you can't do nothing. One of the reasons you can't do nothing is Enigma can make health
She
at
gains health.
she can gain well, she can like make effective health like through her
Yes.
hero ability. That's card's not in her deck. And
Yep.
through that stupid cat card that makes spectral shields out of
Rest
+1/+1
Blessed.
counters.
Yeah.
Hate that freaking card.
Oh, good.
I've lost to that card most of the time when I lose to Enigma.
Yeah.
And so you can't just sit around because she can actually just there are ways for her to make effective health out of her deck.
Yep.
Turn that card that gives target aura +3 counters, turn that into 3 spectral shields with the cat. That's evil.
Yeah.
And so
Like
you
it,
can't just sit around and do nothing. But the whole talking about like doing this pregame math actually reminds me to a parallel to when I was I'm going to talk about it. Have you seen Arcane season 2 yet?
I have watched the first episode.
I
I have not
haven't.
watched
I'm
the other
trying to
two.
get Rachel to watch season 1 first, and then we'll both watch
Do it.
season 2. But in League of Legends, one thing that I when I used to play it and I used to watch people talk about getting good at it, one thing that they would talk about is you would figure out these small little kill combos and you'd
Yeah.
and they would come up with the what would they say? I know the term, but that's not exactly what I'm thinking of yet. And so it's like, let's say you're playing Annie, her ultimate does X amount of damage,
Yep.
especially if Tibbers hit punches them once and does X amount of
And
AoE,
then your Q does
and then
this
your
much, your
Q does
W
this
does this
much.
much.
And so what happens is you learn to you do all this math ahead of time at certain
Yep.
levels with certain items, and
Yep.
at certain points you start seeing lethal, which is
Yes.
they are at 550 health. You're level 5. You hit level 6 as soon as you hit level 6. You've saved the
Drop
mana and you
everything, you
drop
ignite
everything,
them.
ignite them, kill them right there. And that's
Yeah.
how you have pregame determined how to handle things in the future. And so no, you're not going to be dealt that hand the same time every time because sometimes the jungler ganks you right then and there. You have to also
Maybe
know
they're
that
level 6 before you.
yeah,
Maybe yeah.
maybe they're not. Well, I mean, you play around trying to get them to the health total they need to be at certain windows, but
Yep.
like you do the math for a bunch of different things, as you were saying. Flicker wisp, 2 flicker wisp and arc lightning, 2 arc lightnings and a flicker wisp. You know all those numbers ahead of time. So then when you come across those scenarios, you're like, okay, this works like this in this scenario, and especially if they brick, I just kill them right here. If they don't brick, I'm ahead.
Yep.
And you can do a lot of stuff not just from you can learn a lot of stuff by just playing the matchup 100 times, but also there is an amount of just sit
You
down
can
and look at the
pregame.
yeah, you can pregame. You can like figure things out ahead of time, which is super good. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool that y'all were doing that. That's actually super cool that y'all were doing that.
That's something that we really looked at after watching that finals game
Mm-hmm.
of like what actually has to happen
Mm-hmm.
in this. Because like CYB in and of itself does not go above rate turn cycle to turn cycle. It goes above rate in terms of deck value.
Yes.
And that was the thing where it's like, well, what if we're just like, if we're, do we need to double arc lightning flicker wisp? And we actually found it was like the same amount of damage pushed for just doing arc lightning plus flicker wisp 3 times as doing double arc lightning flicker wisp and double flicker wisp arc lightning, which people thought were more damage, but they're not
It
because of
feels like more damage, but
it
like
feels like more damage. But the problem is you're spending 3 cards out of hand
mm-hmm.
to get double arc lightning flicker wisp,
Mm-hmm.
and then you only have 2 attacks.
It's also harder to
So you
set
just have
up
less go again.
because you need specifically these 3 cards.
You have to pitch stack it, which means your first cycle is worse, which means cascading effects.
Yes, and when you're not playing around that simpler concept of I could just play these 2 cards,
Yep,
then it can yeah, I can see that. That's actually really good. And then you also know, okay, let's say I accidentally got 2 arc lightnings and a flicker wisp. Well, this is what I
that's
can
fine.
expect out of it. Or
I
maybe
can
like
just
a hypothetical where let's say 2 arc lightnings and a flicker wisp is actually not good. Then you're like, okay, I got 2 arc
I'll
lightnings
pitch
and
one of them.
I'll pitch one of them. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do all this stuff like hard work is the important part. Do that first. But also, other than just playing games and make sure you know the deck, you're comfortable and all that stuff, there's other things you can do
yeah.
where you can like math out and figure out if you have questions on is this bigger than that, or you should be asking those questions to begin with, you can actually just do that math. Like how Kano players come up with their
Yeah.
bull crap. Actually, Kano's a very close. I mean,
To a degree, yeah.
Annie's a wizard, right?
Uh, in the way that you would play her, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
she's
very
fairly
similar.
close. So like I guess I'll put it this way: is fatigue is not or fatigue slash control, as
Hmm.
I guess LSS wants to call it now, um, is not a question you answer in game. It is a question you answer before the game starts in deck building.
I've always thought that. Well, okay, maybe not
Yeah.
in deck building, but like in
Well, it's
sideboarding, definitely.
oh for sure,
But I guess
but
that's
like
also
you
in deck building, right? So like you plan your
essentially, yeah.
matchups ahead of time. Yeah.
Yes, it is something that you need to have a plan for going into it. And this is something that like I said before Worlds, and I told like everyone that I was testing with
Hmm.
before this. And as soon as CYB came out,
Hmm.
I said it's real enough that you have to have a plan for it.
Yes.
And I had people tell me like, "Nah, it's trash. There's no way." I'm like, "It's the most efficient fatigue healing we've had yet in this game by a factor of 2.
And so you should at least be looking at it.
You need to go play a game against it and ask yourself, is this free? If this is not free, then I need to have an answer for it." And we saw people go into worlds and not respect it. And I think the piece that like really did CYB in was it was able people were able to play around the tech that was supposed to beat it.
That was insane because I hadn't even thought about it
Yeah.
when they had Poison the Well in their deck, and they were like, "He's got Oasis in Arsenal." I'm like, "Who the frick cares? Guy, he's got Oasis in his Arsenal." And then like I took like 4 more seconds to think
Play
about it.
CYB,
Oh,
play Poison the Well, let it resolve, play
Oasis.
Oasis,
Oh man,
gone.
that's some wizard bull crap right there. Like that's I love that. That's so
That's
good.
the piece that really did CYB in and sealed a color ban for it, because it was just a little too easy to play around. Because it's like we also like played test games where it's like we had Rune Blades with Reaping Blade against
Yeah,
CYB Enigma,
doesn't
and
matter.
it was Reaping Blade was irrelevant.
Yeah,
It was irrelevant.
yeah.
We didn't
Sometimes
care.
sometimes I can imagine it makes a hand a little more clunky.
Nah, you're just they're at 40. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not at 40.
yeah.
I'm below them. My
They're
CYBs are all
attacking
live.
me. I am not attacking
Yeah.
them. I'm gonna heal.
Okay.
Oh my gosh,
Neat.
there's some scenes
Go ahead.
in the finals where like Enigma was like actively do nothing because if I do something that's worse for me.
Yeah.
Probably not a great game
Not a great
plan,
look.
not a great look for the game, but also like
If it's
I
gonna win,
Bird said something that I really liked, and I've repeated it a few times. I'm going to be very careful about how many times I repeat it. Which was, he said after it was that Sunday. It was the Sunday of the finals, and we were talking about the finals, because it was in the morning for us. Um, and he was like, anybody who saw that game, the finals, and was not like on the edge of their seat at the whole time, does not have the experience to like appreciate everything that was happening in the game because there was a lot of back and forth and thinking and small planning and little
yes.
interactions and I mean I
I
got
I I
yeah, go
won't
ahead.
say the whole time that I was,
Hmm.
but for the majority of that game, or for a large portion of that game, there is a lot of back and forth.
The first few turns were really interesting to me, and then especially once Aurora's deck got smaller than her graveyard, I was
Yeah.
at the edge of my seat the whole time. I was watching every card played. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Which
it's so cool.
there was one specific turn where after it, I just kind of asked, like, I think is the game just over now because of the way that played out? And I think it was about 30 or 40 minutes into the game,
Mhm.
and then the last like 45 minutes, like, were kind of meh.
Always play it out though.
But like, yeah. Oh
If you're
no,
playing for money, always play it. No, I'm not talking to
I
you. I'm talking to
yeah,
them. Always play it
yeah,
out.
no, I think some people took issue with that, and I'm like, you're not playing in a world championship finals. Shut up.
They took me
Play that out.
saying they took
I
me
don't care.
saying it's an entertainment product too seriously. Where it's like,
Yes,
what the frick up? Just let them play the game.
this is not the finals of your freaking RTN that has a
Yeah.
Jubil as the first place prize. Go away. This is literally first and second. The difference is what, like $50,000 or something,
So
plus
much.
the title of world champion. I
So much.
I take all the time you want, people.
Yeah.
I literally don't give a shit. This one is not. I You're not playing for anyone else at this moment,
Yep. 100%.
but that doesn't make CYB a good viewer experience still.
Especially because if I was in that situation, start a game, I'd lean forward and be like, double or nothing.
You fucking shit.
There's no way I would. There's no way I won't say that. There's like zero chance I won't say that because if I'm ever in that situation, one, something's gone wrong. Two, at that point, I don't even care anymore. I
Yeah.
so don't care anymore. Rachel would kill me. I'd say double or nothing and then lose. It'd be so
Oh,
funny.
she'd be so mad.
So mad.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I think we're wrapping it up here. Is there
Yep.
anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Shout outs.
Um, I think just the merch store, since we're not going to have a stream of Battle Hardened Columbus,
Ah, that sucks.
which is LL.
Yeah.
Guys, come on,
Money match?
please.
What is money match? Oh,
That's
me?
where you.
That's me? Being like
I
playing
guess
for
that's
all the
it.
money?
You.
That's me. It's all the money. Shout out to the armed pit. Yeah, merch store. There's gonna be merch. I was gonna make more merch. This week was supposed to be recording a video, making merch, and doing another thing. And also I was supposed to hang out with the armed pit, which I'm glad all of that fell through because I got sick as a dog. I felt miserable all week. Thought I had pneumonia. But
Ooh,
also I just assumed that. I was just like, I'm sick.
sure.
It has to be cancer and pneumonia. Um thank y'all so much for watching. This end of this month, we're gonna have the first live stream of UPF gameplay on the table pit. We're gonna be moving those to live stream for a ton of reasons, but also I think it's gonna be super interesting. And next time you're in town for whatever, I'm trying to think when Blades
RTN
RTN and when it's
February
gonna be. Like when in February it's gonna be.
third or fourth weekend. They said.
I hope it's fourth weekend because we're gonna try to start doing these every fourth weekend. It'll be interesting because
Sure.
next month is December and it's supposed to be the second one. So we'll see how that goes.
Uh,
We'll see how that goes. We'll plan early. We already got the cast lined up. I think I have the
Cool.
stream lined up. It's gonna be November 24th.
9th, 24th.
24th. It'll be Sunday at noon Eastern time. That way everyone can go to Blade afterwards.
Sure.
Well, it works out, right? So we have the armory at 3, and then
Yeah.
if we have people who have to drive in, they have another
Yeah.
reason to be in town. They can just go to Blade afterwards.
Yeah.
So, thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.